Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. I'm your host, Eric Ramirez, and I've got my awesome co host here, Mando Gomez.
Hey, Eric, are you awake?
Barely. I've been up all night smoking some brisket, but look, we got lots to talk about today. Today is episode 26, number 26. Let's get into it. Dale.
Dale. All right. Hi, man. OpenAI. These guys are like in the news every single week lately. So the latest one is that ChatGPT 4.5 got leaked. Do you think so?
This is crazy. I don't know what's going on. So I don't know if it's intentional leak or it magically just appeared on the internet. But GPT 4.5 is supposed to be like, isn't it supposed to be like their baby Terminator, the one that spooked everybody inside internally? Like, they're getting close and closer to AGI.
It's no, that one is the next one, right? So, but still, this is, is one of the crown jewels, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that uh, I because obviously we have been in tech companies. Sometimes the tech companies don't truly. They have security groups. Sometimes they call them infosec, like information security. And yeah, there are ways for them to know, but it is very hard to stop leaks because it comes back to you have to trust your employees, and the employees they have access to all of the source code. So maybe obviously an employee did it and it just leaked it on the internet. And I think that sometimes it's like some of the libertarian ideologies, like, oh, we did it for the humanity. We'll release it on the internet. It's like, bro, it's like this is
Okay.
this is like literally like private information from the company. People forget that companies, develop these things, and a company is meant to make money, right? Like, and that's the reason why. And look at the positives on when ChatGPT start becoming a private company, then they start creating products for everyone. And because before it was, we mentioned it in the pod, before it was a foundation, and then it's like, oh boy, we need more money to pay for the
Yeah.
GPUs. So yeah,
They asked for Big Daddy Microsoft to come bail them out since Musk ran away, right? Well, so
yeah.
here's the thing, though. So we all saw the Gemini stuff come out from Google last week, right? There were some things like they faked parts of it, or they weren't really being
Fake
super
it till you make
transparent.
it.
Yeah, so they weren't being super transparent with some of this stuff. But maybe this leak, this GPT 4.5 leak, has something to do with it because Google was saying basically we outperform GPT 4, on 30 out of 32 freaking features or abilities or functionalities here. Maybe this was just a little teaser just to show, hey, Google, yeah, you think you got us here, but this is what we've got on the horizon. GPT 4.5 is just around the corner, and we're gonna whip your ass again. So,
It is just it's nice, and sometimes you see these trends where I guess all of the technology is to a point where any engineer can start thinking because it's kind of you cannot unseen the scene, right? So like now that we know how things are with LLMs, the large language models, they are there, and you have Anthropic, you have like many of these algorithms, and some of them they are open source. Then now people are thinking, right? So and they create their own algorithms. So it's very interesting how it's going to shape in the next few years for AI. And I think that the conversion as well is basically robotics, and that's where baby Terminator start getting more real.
that's right. Well, so speaking of Anthropic, Anthropic, their big focus and mission was to make AI basically safer. That was like their number one priority, is safety around AI, right? So, and I know Ilya, the guy that kind of was the one that stabbed Sam Altman in the back there, or one of the ones that did, his whole role in OpenAI hasn't been, let's say, fixed yet. So he's still kind of behind the scenes, but not sure what's going to go on moving forward. But some news this week did come out about how they're working on ways to control this super intelligent AI, and I thought that. I thought the method that they came up with was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
We all know, or all evidence is pointing to AGI is fast approaching, right? So we think this universal artificial intelligence is going to be around, is just around the corner, maybe within just 2 or 3 years here now. So what their strategy is to create a dumb AI to help control the smart AI. So, and I started thinking about this. I'm like, they're giving the super intelligent AI a manager. Is what it sounds like. I don't know what. It's like maybe that's the way it's worked, so long and maybe different. And it's not necessarily a dumb one, but it's maybe just it has a slightly different focus. Its focus is to control the super intelligent AI and maybe help
Hmm.
rein in certain things and maybe help push other things. So it's basically a manager to manage, this the one that's kind of way out there. What do you
There is
think?
a book. Yeah, there is a book called oh man, it just run out but it basically talks about how and I think that the author won a Nobel Prize because the way of thinking fast and slow and basically the
Mhm.
two portions of the brain and basically maybe is that dynamic where one is super analytical, you have the engine, and the other one is that regulates because you cannot as a person you cannot overanalyze everything, right? Because you have to keep doing some intuition in order to be able to move fast and do some operations and actions. Like breathing, you are not truly thinking when you are breathing or things like that, right? So they are more mechanical, more instinctual. So I think that maybe that's some of the things. You have the engine, and as you say, you have the controller or you have the other portion, which maybe I don't see it as bad of an idea. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that maybe it needs a manager.
Well, no, that's. It seems like that's the approach that they might be taking, and I'm curious if this is what they're trying to do with Anthropic as well. Like that's part
Mhm.
of the strategy that they're coming out with. But it's very interesting that GPT 4.5 is leaked out there. People are getting access to it, and now the news of, okay, this is, and it's also building on kind of what happened with Sam Altman, how he got let go and then rehired back. Like I think there is some truth around that. Something did get released, something did spook everybody, and they're like, hold on, we're going too fast, and they kind of had this knee-jerk reaction. So maybe there is truth to a lot of that from all the leaks that we saw with those letters and things like that. And now they're just trying to course correct here. Okay, what can we do to make sure that, if AGI is just around the corner, how do we make it safe? And this AI manager, I guess you could call it, is something that they're thinking of as a way to control the super smart one.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But talking about, we mentioned robotics, right? So let's move into
Mhm.
Tesla. Dude, did you saw the video for Optimus Gen 2?
He's that Optimus Gen 2 robot. He's pretty good with his hands. It looks like.
Yeah, do you want it to hold your ex?
He can cradle my huevos anytime. So
It's very smooth. I do recommend everyone to watch it, right? If you like technology like we do, I mean, we breathe technology, we like technology. Um, the motors on the hands are super smooth. It's like, man, this is like a piece of art.
yeah.
Because if you notice, I mean, there is even the dance, right? The robot dance,
Hmm.
and because it's very like robotic, these ones are smooth, and I think that the tech is gonna keep getting smoother and smoother. I'm actually surprised that maybe at some point we're gonna be able to have nice prosthetics when if the hands are like almost like very like not robotic, like that would be
Hmm.
very interesting. And they start improving on the latex and things like that for the skin, or maybe even kind of like a real tissue, because now with 3D printing too on biological elements,
Yeah.
man. Now
Hmm.
now you're talking. Now you're a cyborg.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking pretty good, and I really do encourage y'all to go look at the. It was a very quick demo,
It's a
right?
quick
Just a
one.
couple
Yeah, it is a quick
minutes.
one.
But in comparison to what they started with, and it just seems like it was 6 months ago that they released Optimus Prime, maybe a year ago.
It's a year ago, but it's still very fast compared to Boston Dynamics has been like, I don't know, 20 years already.
20 years, 20 30
Yeah.
years or
Yeah. It's
something.
like, well, remember also that it was more like a school type of a funding, right? It's like, and
Hmm.
here you have Elon Musk, right? He can get access to any money that he needs.
Exactly right. So, I mean, there's just this huge jump from what we saw with Optimus Prime or the first Optimus robot compared to this.
You
Like,
mean the
we may,
Transformers?
yeah. So that so that first generation of robot, um, that first generation of robot,
No,
very.
wait a second. Wait a second. How Elon Musk is not getting freaking sued, man? Now that you made the sound, like, man, it's like because Optimus Prime, right? Like I
Optimus
don't know,
Prime,
I
right?
don't know who owns that. Maybe is that Mattel?
Is it Mattel? Now Mattel
I
would
don't know.
be all over them suing him, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Activision. Isn't it Activision? I remember that
when
from the cartoons, no?
yeah,
I don't
but I
remember.
don't know if that
Well, we'll
company
have
is
to look
still
that up.
alive,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
yeah, it's interesting. Maybe because it's not the full name. Maybe they're only using Optimus. Maybe they can get away. It's like, well, you didn't trademark
Yeah.
Optimus, right? Only Optimus Prime, which is the name of the toy for the leader of the Transformers.
For the leader, Optimus Prime. Well, Tesla got the first one. That's very funny. The auto company also too. But so anyways, well, the jump from Optimus Prime to now Gen 2 robot is very huge. We made fun of the first version. It couldn't even walk, right?
Yeah, it was
And
like the stand in a stand.
yeah, and when they did the demo, they had an actual person in a fake suit doing the demo because they were like, okay, yeah, we can't even stand up without like a wire and stuff. So going from that to now, like this thing, now it can shuffle along. It's not doing a super fast walk, but it's walking
Mhm.
faster. It's not falling over. At least the way we saw that first generation robot, and it can handle all of your levels. So I mean, it's made some pretty big strides there. I'm impressed.
Yeah, yeah. And it's moving on very, very fast. So,
Got
okay.
to catch up to AGI. That's why he's trying to meet AGI when it happens. He's got to have the body for the brain.
Well, exactly. I think is that's what we are saying, right, on the baby Terminator, where I just want to say, hey, Alexa, you know, clean the dishes, right? So, so in
Okay,
this case, you put a body on this, all of these stupid assistants, right?
so we did this exercise. I don't remember when it was. It was several years back when we were trying to generate ideas for a startup or something. And I remember I asked everybody, "Hey, make a list of all the problems that you have in your daily life. Doesn't have to be super big. They could be small things."
Mhm.
And I put things like, okay, when I'm thirsty, I don't want to have to get up to get a drink. When I don't want to have to go stand and wash my dishes, things like that. And Gomez is
Mhm.
like, man, you're lazy. Like what else? Like I'm like, I want a robot, dude. That's what I want. So I think Elon Musk is thinking along the same lines here.
Do you ever watch the movie, the cartoon? Well, it's not a cartoon, but it's like a Pixar movie, Wally.
Oh yeah.
So the guys didn't move, right? So like literally they were just floating around, and like machines did everything for them, right? All of the robots, they just literally everything. So yeah, I think that we are getting to that point where it's like we're gonna have things. It's gonna be very interesting on the jobs because a lot of people is scared. Always they have been scared of technology. It's like, oh, what is
Oh
like
yeah.
what is going to happen with my job, right? It's important to start thinking about it because that's where you have to up level your skill set. And sometimes the way that I try to describe people when I hear that is like, well, remember, sometimes there are a creation of new jobs that like literally didn't exist before. An example of that is just a yoga teacher, right? Like now in these days, like like maybe if you start thinking 200 years ago, those type of jobs they didn't exist, right? But now because people have the time and all of that, they can create type of new jobs. Podcaster, right? Like
Mm.
once again, it's like the technology was allowing to have people at home or whatever in their own personal studios instead of being at a radio station and a whole crew, right? Which we have a lot of people in our
We've got
in
great
our
support system here.
so I think that it's just interesting the type of jobs that maybe these will allow, right? Because a lot of these jobs maybe will be replaced, but maybe will allow humans to do things that they truly love. So I'm curious how it's going to turn out, or
Yeah.
maybe just Terminator, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come out of this, especially with these two different technologies coming together. Who knows what the next piece is going to be. But, all the billionaires, they they gotta occupy their time somehow, so they're figuring out some cool stuff for us to do. Speaking of, did you see the news that came out about Steve Ballmer this week? Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. You sent me the link. I was like, man, it would be sweet. Basically, the news was that Steve Ballmer got a 1 billion in dividends.
Yeah.
So then that would be nice.
That's not bad. So this is money that he's getting just for having money. I
and
guess that's not
mainly
a
it's
bad system.
Microsoft. Yeah, maybe
Mhm.
mainly this is coming from Microsoft investment. He still has a good chunk of Microsoft. So I googled it a little bit when you sent me that, and guess who actually doesn't have one nor two, but 3 billions
In
in
dividends?
dividends. In dividends, uh, Grandpa Warren Buffett.
Hey man, he made the game, man.
Dude, I mean, yeah, in the rate that he's going, I hope that he gets to 100, right? We discussed about Charlie Munger, his body. It's very, very long life, almost 100 years.
Yeah.
They see it, they're investors. For people that is out there, it takes a different mentality when you're an investor versus when you are making money, and it's very important to watch some of these people, like these investors, the way that they think and the way that they approach. They call them mental frameworks, because and they sometimes they explain them, like when they are in the meetings they say, "Hey, this is the framework that I'm using," because it allows them to see the world in a certain way, and they have done it well for many years, right? So and it can apply to any level, and that's the interesting thing, right? It's not, you can say, yeah, but they have billions. Yeah, but the stuff and the wisdom that they provide, you can apply it to anyone.
Yeah, that's very true. You've got to create a strategy for yourself and stick to it. The what makes a good strategy is that it works at both in good times and in bad times. So you can't just abandon your strategy when things aren't going as planned. Your strategy should be able to account for when things are going well and when things are going bad. So I could appreciate all that like Warren did. Along with Charlie Munger, his buddy, on this whole kind of dividend strategy, kind of long term hold, uh, investing in companies that have strong fundamentals. I don't think he was very big on like the technical analysis part. It was really more about that fundamental analysis of the strengths of a company and their company's health. So they did a lot. They did a lot to that. Now, if we're making a a comparison to like the Bitcoin world, a lot of people always thinking about in terms of how should I get into Bitcoin? How should I get into crypto? Should I do lump sum investment, like just put all your eggs in one basket, or do you do kind of more of a
DCA.
methodical? a methodical investment using DCA, right? Dollar cost averaging, basically buying into this asset a little bit at a time. So depending on whatever, if you have, if you have $50,000 to spend in a year, maybe you're doing like $4,000 a month purchase, or maybe like $1,000 a week purchase. But
Hmm.
the thing is that you set up the strategy and it's periodic, and that'll carry you through it. Now, it may not be 50,000. It could be like you have, you know, $10 a week to use, right, and to get you to like $500 in a year. Like it it can work for whatever budget, but that's what a lot of people think of. Now, if you think you're really good at timing the market, which everyone thinks they're a genius and they can time the market, then yeah, maybe you can say this is the absolute low, and you can buy at the absolute low and sell at the absolute high. Right? Everyone has their
Yeah,
thoughts around
and
that.
and that's almost it. You have to have an edge, and it's almost like thinking that you can win in Vegas, right? There is a lot of people in the casinos, and all of that. The odds are in the favor of the house. But it's interesting what you said on the time in the market, and I remember this picture. Please Google it, and it's Isaac Newton. It's one of the brightest minds in humanity. He actually, you see the chart, and somebody was able to get some information how he was able to, because Isaac Newton, he was hearing that people were starting to invest in the stock market, and all of his friends, they start making lots of money. Then Isaac Newton like, no, 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 I'm not gonna do it. Right. A lot of his friends are getting money. Then he's like, okay, he gets into the market, and they pointed like, where did he get?
Where you get in.
He was getting at the top of the bubble. So then guess what? Like any bubble, boom, then he loses. His friends actually got out because they already write it out. Then when he got out, it was when the market went down. Then again, obviously, like anything else, right? It's just cycles, and it goes up again, and then he revives again when it was going up. The whole point here is that he literally, because he was trying to time the market, he actually didn't make money. In fact, he lost. Because if you invest 100% of your bankroll, and suddenly you have a very huge decline, which it has happened on the market, 50%. So that means that you don't need only 50% to get you back. You need almost 100% of what you lost. So it gets harder and harder. So, but if you stay there, and you weather it, depending of the asset, and that's the reason why we said choose an asset that it actually that you truly believe or you truly like, because in that way you can hold for a long time. So, but yeah, I think billionaires watch, always those type of people are good to see how they are doing it, like how Steve Ballmer is actually able to get that much dividends, also Warren Buffett, and how they're thinking. And it's kind of sad that that's the only thing that I don't like about Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. They call Bitcoin a rat poison.
Right poison squared, I think.
Oh shit! So I'll defer there. I'm more with the billionaire there of Michael Saylor.
That's right. Oh yeah, Michael
do you
Saylor.
want do you want to mention who's Michael Saylor and why? So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, speaking of billionaires, right? Michael Saylor, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is kind of like an analytics company. I think they create a software, a BI software, business intelligence, kind of like Tableau and stuff like that. But it was kind of one of the earlier ones. Well, anyways, they had a lot of cash sitting around. Like he needed to do it. Michael Saylor understands macroeconomics and knows that with inflation, all the cash stacks that his company had were just going to continue to dwindle and dwindle, right? At least their purchasing power and things like that. So he was on the search for, how do I make my money last? How do I make it so that his kids, his grandkids, his great grandkids are going to have access to all of these funds, because he sees what's going on with inflation, and you lose half of the value of your money in years, right? So
yeah.
so basically, he stumbled upon Bitcoin. Now get this: Michael Saylor wasn't always a proponent of Bitcoin. Early on, he didn't really understand it, and he's like, "No, why would you ever invest in something like that?" Right now. he let all the FUD get to him and things like that from him actually digging into this. Now, Michael Saylor is a MIT engineer, so he knows what he's talking about. He's able to analytically look at something and determine whether it's good or not. So after Bitcoin kept coming back, I'm sure he heard of the ups and downs. He said he looked into it and he said, "Wow, Bitcoin, this makes a lot of sense."
Yeah.
It's again, him being an engineer, he started to uh, liken it to things like energy and things like that. So
He
he has a
linked it to,
very
yes.
interesting approach there. Now he's the biggest maxi of all for Bitcoin. He buys more and more every opportunity he gets. I know he has one of the biggest sacks of Bitcoin out there, so he's a big proponent, and
Yeah.
he's done a lot of investing and analysis on it.
Did you knew that Chamat, and the guy now, he's a venture capitalist. He was an employee on Facebook. In one point, I think that he holded like 3 to 5% of Bitcoin. He was one of the earliest, biggest.
Early. Hmm.
Yeah, so that was one of his stats, and he's, people don't speak about it, but yeah, that was the other billionaire that was very huge proponent of Bitcoin. The other one right now as well is Jack Dorsey. I had a chance to meet Jack Dorsey 2 years ago. The guy is like, you see him on the news, like like a hippie dude, like, yeah, all calm,
Yeah,
like it's like very, very calm, like it's very. You will not expect that of a CEO. That was a very interesting personality for a CEO. Um, but
when you get
anyways,
the founder whenever you get a founder CEO, I think you usually see those eccentric personalities
mhm,
actually make it up. Same thing with Elon, right? He's kind of you know
yeah. I
same
mean,
same kind of thing there.
I think that, and here is a good gotcha. The whole idea is for to be yourself. All of these people are themselves. Like Elon is
Hmm.
being Elon, right? Like Jack Dorsey is Jack Dorsey. So Zuckerberg, suck, right? Same.
Sucks.
It sucks. Some people sucky. They call it sucky too. Anyways, but yeah, going back to the money is energy. I I I actually I like that concept because when I was just literally googling what is kind of energy as well, just to rehash the concept, is basically kind of like a physical and mental strength to be able to allow you to do things. So if you think about it, yeah, it's like a maybe money could be like fuel or like gasoline, and this is where maybe all of the philosophical thinking, it kind of falls into a place, because sometimes people work for just to get money, which that would be silly. It's like just living your life and just waking up every morning just to buy gas. Buy fuel. No, that's not the point, right? The whole point is like to be able to move you around, or to be able to enjoy the typical cliche of the journey,
Yeah,
right?
I like how Wolf of Wall Street put it in Leonardo DiCaprio. They're fun coupons, aren't they?
Man, that movie was good. Like I when I saw the movie, I was like, man, now I'm pro Leonardo, right? Before, like, come on, bro. But that one he reivindicated.
Yeah, yeah, that was a funny one. Yeah, fun coupon.
Uh,
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting point, right? Money is energy, and the way that Sader puts it is like, okay, this is the first time that we have the ability. If money is energy, this is the first time we're able to store that energy long term without seeing it like fizzle away and with wastes and things like that. So it's like basically with Bitcoin, you're able to create like this battery that holds all this energy that never goes dead. Right, it's the
yeah.
super energizer bunny over here, and so that's how he sees it, and he sees like I can store this energy, and literally, miners require energy, electricity,
Hmm.
right, to create Bitcoin and to mine Bitcoin and to protect the network. So all of that energy, all of that intensive capital is going into creating Bitcoin and it's being stored into this coin, right?
Yeah.
And so the storage of this coin, now you can transfer this coin, you can transfer the energy that was created today down the road 100 years, and it should be exactly the same. So that's where he thought, man, this is a very interesting concept. I'm able to basically capture energy today and be able to save it for later down the line without really losing half of it or all of it, or like through inflation, the way
Yeah,
fiat
because if you see even a regular battery, try to have like a battery for many years, it cannot hold the energy, right? It's just because they're physical. So it's a very interesting concept, um, how you can retain it without changing its value. So, and one of his premises that is like, and remember, these guys are thinking with a lot of money in their mind. What applies, you can buy. You don't need to buy right now. The Bitcoin is oscillates between 40 to 45,000. Uh, you don't have to buy the one whole coin, right? You can buy just little pieces, even $10, whatever is the. I'm not sure what is the minimum at the moment, but it's probably one satoshi. Whatever is the cost of the satoshi, which is like a very very tiny fraction. But my point here is that uh, he was saying that there is no other asset that you could literally move it around. Because usually when you are trying to have like a $1 billion, maybe let's say a property in Manhattan, the guy's like, hey, I need to sell the property. I have to have a bank. If I want to just literally go to Europe, I have to have the transaction, the wire transfer, and all of that takes like weeks or months. So with Bitcoin, or in this case with cryptocurrencies, you are able to just move it around as fast as you need, right? So, which is again, it's very interesting how these billionaires, they are thinking on how they perceive the world, and no wonder why they're billionaires, because they see it differently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, when you have that much money, you start thinking about, all right, generational wealth. How do you protect the money? How do you keep it from from having leaks? Basically, you don't see it as like, hey, I need to buy a yacht this week. Like, do I have enough money in the account? You're not. You're kind of at a different level there. So it's very interesting, and it's fortunate that we've got folks like this. Though they do get brought down a lot by people, just because a lot of people think we shouldn't even have billionaires, right? There shouldn't be people that have that much money and things like that. But this is kind of the world that we live in, and but it's
It's
good that they've got
capitalism,
these
baby.
it's good that they've got these big brains, because they're driving a lot of these innovations. By the way, did you see Jack Dorsey's? I know you mentioned him. He came
Mhm.
out with a new product, I think this week also. It's called the Bit Key. He's got a multi-sig
The
wallet
key,
now.
which that's a huge problem, right? Like when you start getting into this kind of universe of crypto, one thing that you realize, like, man, because now my money is there, you can get hacked, right? So because it happens to a lot of people, so there are different ways to be able to protect it. And between Eric and other friends, we have been discussing how come the products out there, they are not very solid, or they have make it very very complicated. And what it is just to have a solid, literally a physical product like a key, to be able to allow you to hold those bitcoins, because the majority of the people, they have it in their accounts, or on or in companies, to be able to have exchanges. Remember, if you don't have your keys, they're not your coins, because these companies sometimes disappear.
Not your keys, not your coins. Remember, yeah, like I'm still dealing with Celsius right after their bankruptcy.
Like I'm dealing with several. Don't get me started. But so 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 I think that and I think that Jack Dorsey saw that issue, and that's the reason why he's trying to resolve it with a physical key. So I'm probably gonna buy it to see and play with it. I had Ledger. I did not. The other one is Tensor. What was the other one?
Trezor.
Tracer.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not get that one, but I got Ledger, and we'll see this one. We'll see how it is, how easy it is to utilize. Because I think that some of those there were not easy to set up. They were clunky. So for the mass, dude, it has to be like like an iPhone type of experience, right? Where it's like so smooth, but I still not there yet. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Jack Dorsey is a little bit more for the mass.
Yeah, and I think it's good timing that Dorsey let out this, the announcement on his BitKey. This because Ledger had some problems this week. They were saying like one of the, I guess if you're one of their DApps, one of their distributed apps, has a vulnerability. One that connects to their ledger and their ledger live software, where someone could potentially take your coins, which I think they've had evidence of at least around $150,000 stolen so far, which, in the grand scheme of things is not that bad. But I mean, I'm sure it sucks for those people that had their coins taken. So, basically, I guess it's good PSA right now. Don't use your ledger right now if you got it. Be very, very careful. Look into it before you actually use it, especially if you're using one of these dApps that are accessing your ledger. That's where the vulnerability is at the moment. Not necessarily if you have your money on a ledger, it's still safe there. Just right now, it's specifically with one of these apps. So look into it, do your research. But I think it just shows that there's still some opportunity here in the landscape for another product, maybe one that's easier to use and one that has not a single point of failure, right? With this multi-sig. If you guys aren't familiar with like this multi-sig approach to a wallet, that means basically you have to have two of three keys for you to be able to transact on this wallet or on this key.
Yeah.
So
And I have a couple. I have a couple friends that they have a substantial amount that actually they put it in different places. Like they are not even in their house. Like because sometimes the keys might be different words, like 12 words or 24 words, and random, right? So it's again you can choose them, or you can. Some people decide to choose them. Some other people decide to not memorize them. So that way, even if they are torturing them, give me your Bitcoin.
yeah,
I can't. I don't know, bro.
yeah. I think it's a good way, right? That way, you're the $5 rent attack won't work on you, right? So there's a extra set of protection there, so it's not just you. There's a multiple. You have to have multiple keys to be able to access it. So really good stuff there. We'll look into it and we'll let y'all know kind of what we find
Yeah.
out on it.
And the last one that I have in the list, though, is for the billionaires, is Anderson Horowitz. Did you notice that they are huge venture capitalists? They said that they will give money to any politician that is willing to basically reform any laws regarding tech. So it's a, I mean, it's their money. I guess they can do whatever they want.
They, they didn't even try to sugarcoat that. They're like,
Nope.
"Hey, you looking for dollars? Come over here." But we scratch your back, you scratch ours. That's okay, yeah. I mean,
And
okay, that's what lobbying is in general, right?
yeah,
It's
it
just
is, but
like,
it was exactly, it was like no sugar. Like they were very upfront. It's like and I think that I guess with all of the media now and all of the AI now is like it's so technology is now is so ingrained with our daily lives that they can be that as blunt, because maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they'll probably even go to jail, right?
right.
Just by saying that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of money in politics, and sometimes that's what you end up getting. So, again, not much that we can do to control that. At least not just by ourselves. So, that's the way it is, and I guess they're playing the game, right? They're playing to win.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that we have a solid one here, man.
Yeah, I think so. By the way, do you think all these CEOs are like just like, do they have a big group chat or something? They're just texting back and
Oh,
forth or what?
I got invited to this WhatsApp group with all of the 100 Silicon Valley CEOs. Joking. Yeah, yeah. It's like there are groups though, and there are tables. Right? We have been calling them tables here. That's the reason why. And that when I was with Elon and his crew, I did notice I was the only brown one there. It's like, man, it sucks, right? Like diversity. And I think that that's the reason why we are doing this podcast, right? We are making sure that all of you have information. Information, as always, is power, right? So, and yes, there are groups of people, of billionaires, and then groups of Silicon. CEOs, which that was the news that came out too, where there was a WhatsApp channel that it had 100 Silicon Valley CEOs.
That's pretty interesting. Imagine getting into that one. I always wondered, how do they organize their big ass parties that they have? Hey, we're gonna meet in Monaco this week. Who's gonna be there? Like, I gotta get my yacht out of storage. Like, what are they? What is that text group like? That's what I'm curious about.
It's I mean, it's always hard, right, for them. But I think that yeah, those parties is probably the same as us. Like, just in their case, they have assistants. Like, hey, check with my assistant if my calendar or whatever, right? Or maybe they override their assistants. It would be hard to be an assistant for that type of a person, huh?
I know, no kidding. Well, they're planning trips to Bermuda. I'm inviting people over for burgers. So
There are levels, yes.
there are levels. Well, pretty fun stuff though in today's podcast. I think that's all what we've got for today. So just a reminder to like, subscribe, comment. We love to hear y'all's comments. Anytime we hear a good one, we'll mention it on air. And like we said, once we get enough, maybe we'll do a one-off show on these. So, any closing thoughts, Mando?
No, it's like we're getting close to the end of the year, so stay well. So enjoy the family, and let's see you next time.
That's right. We'll see you next time. Sin miedo. Bye, y'all.
Bye.